Hey, welcome back to Geekshow Helpdesk.
What's up?
Yeah.
I am 100% surprised you got that right. I was not expecting to hear that. I thought you were going to say arcade.
Well, I didn't, and
You didn't.
up yours. So,
We all love when Tony screws it up.
all right, this is Geekshow Helpdesk, where we talk about tech, gadgets, and science-adjacent things that are interesting to us. It's usually space stuff, let's be honest. Before we get started, let's introduce our panelists. He's back again. It's Lando.
Hi, it's Lando. You can find me here on the podcasts. Mainly, just this week, only the one. This one. It's the best one.
All right. It's his favorite podcast that he participates in. Let's see.
It's a fair
Owen.
point.
Hey,
Hey.
follow me here. You can follow me on Twitter too, I guess. At TechNoan. I kind of had a thing going where I was like not going to pimp my social media, but I forgot.
Why'd you change?
I forgot. And then my words started coming out, and then I didn't want to stop. Because then they would have said, "Oh, you muted him, but you didn't mute me."
Not that time.
Anyway.
Owen's dying words will be, you can find me on Twitter at TechNoan.
Yeah.
Because he'll
That'll
just be
the
so
la-
used to it.
It's muscle memory. In fact, when I get Alzheimer's, that's what you do to bring me back for the day. Like in the Notebook. Follow me on Twitter. Hey, TechNoan. Hey, follow me there.
Oh, hi.
I know that place.
That's amazing.
And you were there, and you were there.
All right. It's Jaron.
Hey, it's Jaron. And we have a host. His name is Tony.
Hey, check me out on the twits, on the tweeters, on the X, at QuadTTony, or on other Geek Show things. Yep. All right. Do we have any emails?
Yeah.
Email.
This one was from a week or 2 weeks ago, actually. We didn't have time in the previous episode. This is from Aaron Langford. He says, just a cool science story from the field I work in. And it's a story about the first ever successful partial heart transplant.
Partial.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm
So
in.
this happened over a year ago. Baby Owen. Yeah, Owen, I thought this would get your attention. He was in stage 4 heart failure at 17 days old.
Just like regular age.
That's
Owen.
rough.
Just like Neo. Just like normal. Normally that comes a lot later, but... Okay.
Okay. I don't know how to
Owen doesn't
continue.
have late stage heart failure. It's a joke.
I would be sad if he did.
Yeah, me too.
If he's not here next week, this is on you, Tony.
It was a
Yeah.
it was a statement of the amount of Taco Bell he
No, I
eats.
thought I'd talk to you about it. I really have like high blood pressure and like my tickers, they're like, hey, bud, you got to cut down the sodium and stuff. So you're going to die.
Don't you tell me what to eat. I'll
He's
eat what
in-
I want.
Stage 3.5 heart failure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is a partial heart transplant, not a full heart transplant. So what they did was they transplanted functioning heart valves and arteries from a donated heart into baby Owen's heart.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Was it a human heart donor or was it
Yes.
an animal?
At 7 days old.
Human heart.
At 7 days
Yes.
old, that's got to be tiny.
Yeah, that's way tiny.
Right. Yeah. And a year later, his transplanted valves and arteries are growing with him. Normally, with this type of surgery, he would require multiple surgeries throughout his life
Whoa.
to keep him going. But he should not need additional surgeries in the future.
Wow, that's
which
super
is
cool.
Super cool. Yeah. And this was the first done on a human. Before they did it on piglets.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's cool that it's growing with him. That is amazing. It's just like an
Wait, this
accepted
was done on a
transplant.
human?
Yes.
Yeah.
Baby
Yeah.
Owen.
Who's baby Owen?
It's his kid.
It's
Oh, that's right.
Right?
Oh, welcome to the show, Tony. This
Well,
is
to
the
my
help desk.
in my defense, Lang has also named chimpanzees and apes after some of us. So I thought he was talking about one of his.
I'm the one that got his kid, though, just so you know.
Yeah, you got a real human name. So I mean, kudos to you for that. But like, because I think he has a where he works. There's one named Ginger Squatch and other ones with other names. So that's what I thought he was talking about. This was the real deal human. That's awesome.
human. Named Baby Owen.
That's so cool.
Or just Owen, probably.
I think it was the baby Owen part that made me think that it was like a baby chimpanzee. Anyway, well, cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Got another email from Uncle Squinky. Question for Lambo.
Hey.
I also sous vide?
Sous vide.
Sous vide
vide.
steaks,
Yes, it's the best
as
way.
well as a variety of roasts from time to time. How long do you leave the steaks in the water bath, and at what temp? Also, how do you finish cooking them? To make this hardware related, I have an old Anova Precision cooker wand rated at 800 watts. Works just fine at this point, but I'm guessing that it will need to be replaced in the next 12 to 18 months. Do any of you have a preference / recommendation for sous vide cookers?
Oh, this is 1000% my question. I love this question.
It does say
So
question
much.
for Lambo.
I know.
does.
I'm gonna ignore the part where you called me Lambo and just carry on. So I
How
have
could
the.
you hate Lambo?
I don't care for it.
Lamborghini.
So I have a Breville. Well, it's not a Breville anymore. It used to be Chef Steps Jewel sous vide device. I had the Gen 1. I was an original Kickstarter backer
Oh,
for
wow.
this whole thing. And it served me well for a number of years. I am also in the boat where I need to buy another one. I am going to buy the new Jewel, the Breville Jewel. Breville is now
Instapot
partnered with
Instapot
Chef
has
Steps.
one. Instapot has one like built into their the pressure cooker, air fryer. Is it not as good having the built-in one that does it through the induction and stuff? It's better to use the wand with.
You want the circulator, right? So
Yeah, that's
so you can
difference.
control the temperature
Of the whole
precisely.
bin.
Yeah.
So the
Instead of
one I
just-
have sucks water in through the bottom and then spits it out through a hole in the top. And if the water isn't deep enough in your pot, it'll actually like kind of look like a water fountain. But it circulates the water around your food.
I see.
Yep.
That's
how-
an important part of the whole process. And the thing I like about the Breville one or the Jewel device is the app, the companion app that goes with it is very, very good. It'll ask you a series of questions depending on what you're cooking. And there's nothing special here to the device, but the app is very good. It's like, how thick is your steak? Oh, it's 2 inches thick. Cool. Is it frozen or fresh? Oh, it's fresh. Cool. Here's how long it should be in the water for. It can stay in for this long or longer, and you'll be fine. If you leave it in for too long, that's when you're going to start getting the degradation of your food.
Yeah, different texture.
Yeah, and depending on how thick or frozen or whatever your cooking is, it tells you all that, and it's just thought-free. So to finish, the way that I currently do that is I get a ripping hot cast iron pan and sear it off that way. However, the downside of that is it does make
Lot
a
of
smoky
smoke.
mess in
Yeah.
my kitchen. Avocado oil helps with that because that's a higher smoke point. Finishing
try
with butter also
try-
helps.
Peanut oil. Peanut oil is a good one too.
That would be a good one.
Very high boil point.
I have
smoke
had on
point.
my radar. I want to get a Searsol for like a blowtorch. Really, really bad. That has been on my list of things that I want for a long time. I've never ever pulled the trigger on. But yeah, I think a Searsol will be way dope to finish steaks.
What's the biggest thing you've cooked in a sous vide? Do you just do steaks? Have you done a roast like that?
I've done a
his?
roast. Yeah,
Okay.
they did.
Like
They take
like
a
a-
long time, and compared to a slow cooker, I didn't see that meant much advantage to it. The main thing I cook in my sous vide are cuts of meat, so steaks, pork chops, and not just like the stupid thin, dumb like half-inch pork chops you
real
think
pork
about.
chops.
You want real Iowa chops, baby, like the 2-inch thick pork chops, the real deal. Those things in the sous vide are awesome because you can't screw them up. And pork is one of those things that goes from not done
Perfect,
to done to
perfect.
overdone
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
super fast. So the sous vide methodology just alleviates so much pressure on those really expensive cuts of meat.
Yeah.
And I don't usually sous vide steaks. Well, it works for all cuts, but the more expensive the cut or the better the quality of the meat, the better your results are going to be. Just
See, I've
straight
had the
up.
opposite with steaks.
Really?
Yeah. If I do like a sirloin steak, a leaner sirloin steak, the sous vide is a better option than a barbecue. But if it's like a fatty ribeye, man, the barbecue
serious?
is so much better.
Oh, not me. I've had some. I've
I
had
think
some
the sous vide
phenomenal
sounds-
ribeyes.
Sounds like sous vide can upgrade like poor meat to good meat to great meat.
Yeah,
You know.
that's exactly what it can do.
Similar to a smoker. A smoker
Yeah,
can take a
same.
crap cut, and I mean that's a brisket. A brisket is
Yeah.
Yep.
unedible
Well,
without
yeah.
doing a super long slow cook. You know, that's
It's
why
so tough.
it's super tough, and that's why you can get it for $3.99 a pound. at Costco or whatever, because the only thing it's good for is a long, slow cook. So, I've done a full 16-pound brisket in a sous vide, and it came out pretty good. So we did it. It was me and Twyman did this. I think it was a 36-hour cook in the sous vide, and
Did you
then
like throw
adding
it?
water.
Did you just throw it in a cooler? Like
yeah,
what'd you use for-
I took a cooler and I cut a hole out of one of the corners of the top of the lid, and I dropped the sous vide unit. It's an ANOVA as well. I dropped it in there, and vacuum packed 16-pounder and stuck it
Wow.
in, seasoned it and stuck it in there. And then after
You're
it
looking
was
like what, 18 hours to get that done?
36.
Woo.
It was a long cook. And then after that, Twyman came and picked it up. This was before I had a smoker. He came and picked it up and smoked it for 3 hours after that
Oh, I bet that was
to give it a
awesome.
bark. It was really good. Yeah. I don't think it was any better than a
Than just doing the
well-smoked
whole-
brisket the whole time, but
Right.
it turned out really good. It was still good.
The one last thing I will say about the Breville Jewel device is it is like half the size of the Innova one and just as powerful, if not more powerful. I can't remember the specs off the top of my head, but it is like it's small enough that it'll fit in my in a drawer, like a skinny drawer in my house. So it's super easy to store and doesn't take up a ton of space like the Innova
Nice.
does. So yeah, I can't recommend the Breville Jewel enough. That's absolutely the one I would buy.
Sweet. The other thing that sous vide is really good for is if you smoke a lot of meat and you freeze it in vacuum seals for later after you smoke it, reheating it in the sous vide is prime. Super
way.
good for that.
Yep. Custard. I've made custard in my sous vide before too.
What now?
Yummy. Yep. You do it in little mason jars.
Oh, interesting.
It's really good. So I've done custard and I've done the creme brulee where you blow torch the top to get the nice crackle.
Caramelization.
Yep.
Nice.
So there's a lot of cool things you can do
Oh yeah.
with it. I've seen people. I want to try oatmeal. Is kind of is one of the things on my list, but haven't gotten around to it.
All right, there you go, Squink.
Oof,
Any other
200
emails?
250
Nope.
bones for that
That's it.
Breville Jewel. Sounds like it's
right.
worth it though.
Okay, let's see. I got a couple of BS stories that I think are pretty interesting. 3 of them, actually. 3 of my 5 stories are BS. We also have a few leftovers from CES. Let's start with Samsung's announcement, though, because it will only take about 45 seconds.
Hey, I think it's pretty interesting, actually. They
What?
announced the Galaxy S24 and S24 Plus
The end.
and the Ultra. Has the new Snapdragon Gen 3, whatever chips they're called. They look pretty much the same as last year's phones. Not much on the hardware front,
So what
but
are you excited about here?
what they did a lot of is software stuff. They talked a lot about AI.
Of course.
They
Yeah.
they seem to be as much of an AI phone as the Google Pixel. So you can like move subjects and photos around and have AI fill in the background and like completely erase things in photos. For texting, you can write up a draft and then have AI come up with different styles. You can say, make it professional,
Yeah,
or
but here's the thing: is all of that's done in the cloud anyway. So what do you need
apparently
a special
it
phone
does
for it?
Apparently, it does it on device.
Baloney! I don't buy that
You
even
think they're
for
going
a
to spend battery
second.
power for that?
Exactly. And the amount of compute it would take, no way. I don't buy it for a second. All it is the gateway to the servers.
But I don't like using AI to change my writing style. If everyone used this, we would be talking to the same person the rest of our lives.
You would
But
think
some
that,
people need it,
but
right, Jaron? But some people need it?
No,
Come on.
I know
no.
myself.
I want people who don't know how to write to not write well, so I can judge them.
Oh.
that
Touche.
track.
You know what? That's a super good, Jaron. That's a super good point. What would I do if I wasn't judging people's weird grammar?
Exactly.
That's like half the things we use to make fun of Lando with. I mean, what
That's
would
how
we
I
do?
determine. It's how I
guys are the
instantly
worst.
determine your place within my friends list. Like it's how I determine. It's how I determine how I'm going to treat you. Is my reading of your messages. I'm like, okay, this person's getting filed into
So-
number 4 category.
To your point, Jaron, Me and a bunch of my coworkers, we all use Grammarly to do our writing, and you would think that would make us all sound the same, and I can't tell. Like I use it extensively.
Fixing grammar and
That's
changing
different
the
than-
actual
No, but change the-
style of someone's tone.
Yeah, different than the tone for sure.
I
Yeah,
think
have
that's
you used
different.
Grammarly before? It does all of that.
No, this is like
It's not just grammar; it changes tone and style, and it analyzes, professionalism and optimism and all that
Does
kind
it
of
have,
stuff,
like,
and
a
helps you change it.
dial?
Like it does all
Does
that.
it
Yeah.
like go 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade? Like, can you set your level of grammar?
Well,
Yeah,
so
you can.
the question at that point,
Pretty
though,
sure.
Lando, would be how dramatically is it being used by your other teammates? Are they using it on a low setting, or are they all using it on the same setting? Are they using it on a high? That would be the question at that point.
That's a good point. I bet you most people use it at
Probably the lower setting.
See,
I
I
would
need-
think.
maybe.
That's
I don't know.
what I
I'd
think.
never change the settings.
I think it's an issue of pride. Who wants to crank it up and be like, yeah, I will admit defeat right here,
can you
and
turn it
just
to
have this do all my writing for me.
Like, can you actually get it to? Is there a dial that lets you turn it to internet troll? Like,
No, there are different things. Like,
Right? Like-
make it more casual, make it
Yeah.
super professional, put emojis in it, add
Yeah.
hashtags. It
Yeah.
has like all those different options.
So
Yeah.
how
There's-
James was doing all of his social media posts for a while.
Yeah, there's no way that is all being computed on that Snapdragon chip.
How's the? So let's get to
Whatever.
the-
if you
how
want to
about
die
the-
on that hill, Tony, that's
How about
fine.
this? How about
I'm not
the
gonna. I
specs?
will. I will live and thrive on that hill.
Okay. The one cool AI feature that legitimately looked awesome to me was they call it Samsung Translate. Very creative. But you can be talking to someone on the phone and you speak in English, it will translate to them in their language. They speak back in their language and it'll translate to you in
That's
English.
very cool.
What kind
Universal
of
translator,
voice
that's
does
cool.
it use?
Does
Does it like try to mimic your voice?
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be crazy.
That
I
would
don't-
be neat.
you would need to have voice data in there. Like you'd have
You'd have to train it.
Yeah, but
read a lot
Siri,
of
like,
prompts and
the-
train it. So
the
I doubt
iPhone
it
does
uses
that.
your voice.
You can train your voice in the iPhone. The iPone will use your voice.
It does.
to-
It takes like 15, 20 minutes, but I'd be
This is-
surprised if they used your own voice.
I
on
bet
those.
we're not too far away from universal Star Trek communicators for translation.
Oh no,
We're so
we are-
close.
The technology is all there.
Yeah.
Just someone needs to put it together, and
Even with your voice, I bet we're closer than we think we are.
yeah.
I think the biggest issue is probably just size of compute,
Right.
like hardware and powering it. A battery that will be able to keep it going.
But just I bet 5 to 10 years, that's all cheaper, easier,
I'm going with
simpler,
10.
smaller.
I'll bet in 10 years it will be pretty
Can you imagine what the world
pretty
would be like without the
consumer
language barrier?
level. That'd
Can
be
you imagine?
awesome.
Call centers.
Could you
and
well, think
nobody
about the?
But nobody would have to ever learn another language.
Well, that's
again?
the
Is
problem.
that
I was going to
weird?
say. Think about the amount of trust you would have to put in the technology
Oh,
at that point
yeah,
to just
absolutely.
blindly believe that whatever it's translating
Oh,
is correct.
send that to the
If you-
Roddenberry state. We need to have a episode of some kind of Star Trek where the translator gets hacked.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
starts
that'd be
saying
great.
saying the wrong things.
Yeah.
And it'd be like a soap opera version of Star
Oh,
Trek.
Absolutely.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Sounds like a great episode of Strange New Worlds.
But we would need
Yeah, it
Riker.
does.
We would need Riker in it though, like being Riker in the 80s.
Or
Yeah,
or a
giving
good
back,
episode.
going like season 1 Riker. Like
Yeah.
we could use this to bring back season 1.
We don't
Riker.
need to bring
Oh.
back season 1 Riker.
Season
one-
one Riker is
Season
the
1
best
Riker.
Riker.
Where he
I
just ran
just
around trying
watched
to put it in
season-
everything.
Yes, yes.
I just watched season 1 within the last couple years. It's terrible.
It's hard. It's hard. I tried.
Season 1's rough. I'm watching
It's-
Voyager right now and loving
It's great in its own way, though.
In its own way, for sure.
Yes. Beyond that, though, the coolest part in the announcement to me was Samsung has agreed to do 7 years of Android and security updates,
That's cool.
just like Google. So I think that makes Galaxy phones extremely viable as
I hope that
phones
starts-
for people who love Android.
Yeah, I hope that starts becoming table stakes across the industry, like long-term support.
'Cause
And
but-
I was going to say 7 years. I'm surprised they're doing 7 years. I would have thought 5. Like 5. I thought 5 would be the number, but 7 is
Yeah,
like
like back in the day, if you bought an Android phone, you expected to remain on that version the entire time,
yep.
which was just horrible. So
Yep.
that's why why people started buying the Google phones. So if Samsung is meeting Google at this and extending Android updates for 7 years, it's extremely tempting to get these phones because their hardware quality is so much better than Google's.
Yeah.
You know that the phones actually last a year or two or even more, unlike Google's. Like even the latest Pixel, I've read of hardware issues, and they've only been out for a couple months.
Well, and what I really wish they would do, and this won't happen, but make an easily user replaceable battery. If you're going to support the software
so
for
much
7
better.
years,
Support a
you're
battery
gonna want
you can swap out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to want to swap the battery out after 3 or 4 years, I guarantee. Just 'cause
After 2 years.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
the
Which
way
is why this-
lithium-ion batteries work.
Right, which is why this could just be a PR stunt, right? They know, yeah, we support it for 10
Oh,
years.
for sure.
But they
there's-
know that
there-
your phone's not going to last that long.
There's an aspect of that for sure.
Yeah.
But it does mean, though, if you wanted to, you could ride the same phone for 7 years and have, at the very least, security updates. You know.
Yeah.
and
Well, I remember watching. There
pretty
was a Jerry Rig Everything on YouTube. I watched a video. He daily drove an iPhone for a number of weeks.
I watched that one too. Local guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
Some of,
there
his,
was a.
some of his conclusions were bunk, but it was a good.
I
video.
agree.
Yeah, that's not the point. The point is his old phone he was on for like 7 or 10 years. Like he was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go back to this old phone that I've
Respect.
had forever. And I remember thinking to myself,
He was
you've had
riding.
that phone for that long?
He was riding a Google Note 10.
Yeah.
He's been using, or a
was
Samsung
crazy.
Note 10 for ever since they came out. So yeah, he uses his stuff, all the way.
I mean, at that point, you have to have no battery life, right? Like, that's just the way that
I imagine he
works.
He
had to have
replaces
gotten the
it.
battery replaced.
Yeah.
He's,
His
he, I
thing
mean, he
is
tears
he'll
apart
open it
phones
up.
for a
Yeah.
living.
Exactly. He'll open up,
Right.
put a new battery in. So, yeah. Good job, Samsung. 7 years. That's great.
See, it was interesting. I told you.
We definitely had a discussion. All right. Let's see. You know what? Let's
We got the Google AI story.
yeah. Let's well, we can shift into Google AI, or we could talk battery stuff because there was a bunch of battery we talked about as well. Choose your own adventure. We going Google AI or
Owen, make the call.
battery?
Battery.
Owen, make the call.
Battery, he says. Okay.
Going battery.
So I've got 3 battery segments here. First up, next level BS. Now this is a battery coming out of China, a company called Betavolt, and they say they have created a battery that runs on atomic energy and will generate electricity for 50 years
What's it
before
called?
needs to be replaced. Betavolt, one word.
Can't wait till VHS Volt comes out. And
Hey,
it's Standard Wars.
nice.
So
The
when you say
battery
BS,
wars.
this is BS as in too good to be true.
Definitely, but also BS just stands for battery segment, where we talk about batteries.
It's a double entendre.
And
Lando.
now Lando finally understands why it's
How
called
long you been
BS.
doing this podcast?
Not long enough, apparently.
I mean, you're gonna strap. Is this,
Well, here's the
what's
thing.
the
Here's the
radiation
thing.
level? What's the rads
So
on this?
these are very, very small batteries. They're basically designed at this point to go in very small devices that are going to be, hard to get to and last for 50 years, up to 50 years or the length of the device. But it only produces 100 microwatts of power at 3 volts.
Ooh, that's not
Right.
a lot of power.
So,
it-
yeah.
So it keeps it'll keep your clock on in your satellite. This is the
That
backup
kind of
for
thing.
the clock, for like
Yep.
the system clock and for like
Yep.
things
A
like that.
digital watch that lasts for 50 years.
So the company plans next year to launch a 1-watt battery and continue to improve and iterate on it. This is what
Se-
they're saying. I don't know if I buy it.
Seiko's like,
Yeah.
finally, our hardware will be proven. All we've needed is a battery that can make it run for 50 years.
Well, 50 years. So what they're using in there is a nickel 63 isotope that, as it degrades, they have it in there to produce power as it degrades, or as it decays. Excuse me. And when it's done decaying over the 50 years, it turns into copper. Its half-life it ends up
Wow.
as copper.
Well, that's cool.
And is non-radioactive, so it won't pose a threat to
oh,
anything sitting there for years and years.
Disappointed.
And they're also researching into using other isotopes such as strontium-90, promethium-147, and deuterium to produce batteries with higher power yields. So those would also be shorter service lives though, between 2 and 30 years. So
Right.
interesting stuff. You know, the concept of atomic batteries and nuclear batteries has been science fiction for years and
Yeah.
years.
A battery that lasts half your life.
Yeah,
Come
you
on,
know,
sign
but
me
think
up.
about that. If they could produce a battery that is safe, and you would just put it in your phone, it would come with your phone, and you would never have to charge your phone ever
Think
again
about- think
throughout
about
the life of the phone.
That'd be
medical
dope.
science, medical science too, right? Like pacemakers,
Pacemaker
things like
stuff
that.
would
Yep.
be amazing for stuff like that. So I'm over here, you know, how cool would a phone be? Owen's like, let's talk about real world application, what it really needs to be used
No,
in.
Tony's right. Phone's better.
Phones
What about
are-
never
I'll
having to
never
charge
have to
Steam
change
Desk-
my
Steam Deck?
Xbox controllers again.
Yeah, there you go. Steam, a handheld computer or a controller or whatever, all that jazz. All right, so there's one. Now this is I have this one labeled as B free BS, as in
This is
a
just
battery.
The S, this is just
battery.
the S part of that.
This is just
Just a segment.
a segment about a battery that isn't a battery. This is a self-powered sensor
The sword that wasn't a sword.
that harvests power
This is neat.
from the air, basically. Now, MIT engineers have designed this sensor that they will be able to use for to monitor performance and efficiency of machines in hard-to-reach places. You know, like in ships' engines or train engines, things like that. And what it does basically is it has a little clip that goes around a wire that carries electricity, and it just captures the magnetic field that's generated by the power flowing through that electricity and is able to convert it into power for its usage, right? And it doesn't use a battery, it uses capacitors. So it's got some high quality capacitors on there that store the energy, because chances are that whatever it's measuring might not be on all the time. So it needs to be able to hold a charge in case you want to see what that sensor's information has right when you turn on whatever passes the
Right.
juice.
It's like recurring check-ins or something like that.
Yeah,
It's like,
recurring
oh,
check-ins, things like that. So I just thought that was really cool because it's
Interesting.
basically just captures waste energy, you know.
Oh, that's
to,
cool.
Can you
How
imagine
come
like
this-
a tiny camera that just takes like still frames, just
Yeah.
like with a pinhole camera? It charges up. It takes a camera. You can take a really long, kind of power-free,
long exposure.
long exposure with using something like this. That'd be cool.
So is this just energy that's floating in the air
No, it's
invisibly?
energy. Well, kind of, because it works by capturing the magnetic field. Because every time power passes through wires, it creates a magnetic field, right? And so it is able to use that magnetic field to generate electricity.
So we're not talking the magnetic field of the Earth.
No. The magnetic field
Oh,
of
okay.
electricity passing over the wire.
Got it. All right.
So, yeah, really, really neat stuff. It says researchers plan to explore less energy-intensive means of transmitting data, such as optics or acoustics. And they want to more rigorously model and predict how much energy might be coming into a system or how much energy the sensor might need to take measurements so that they could gather even more data with it. Basically, they're saying kind of this is just the beginning. The sky's kind of the limit on what they'll be able to do with this if they continue to pursue it. And last but not least, wait a minute. Maybe I lied. I only have 2 BSs. How did I get 3 out of there? All right. Anyway,
I'm
moving
disappointed.
on. I'm
the last
disappointed.
was the least because it was nothing.
You're right, Jaron. When you're right, you're right.
Don't be careful. Don't tell him he's right.
No,
I'm going to
you know
record
what?
that and I'm going
It
to
was
play
there.
it back.
He had it
You've seen that screenshot he uses in our super secret Slack channel
Yeah, he's
all the
got some-
time, right?
all
got-
the time.
You're right, Jared.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's shift back into this is like in the Choose Your Own Adventure books. When you leave your finger on the page that you chose from, you look at one and then you go back and you see where the other one was.
Yeah,
That's
actually,
cheating.
you know what?
It's save scumming through our
Yeah.
through our
Oh,
Choose Your Own
Perfect.
Adventure.
Oh, that's perfect. I felt that.
Yep. AI features in Google Chrome, Lando.
oh, this is me. Yeah, this is
Yeah, this is you.
so Google's, of course, like as is everybody, bringing AI features to your browser, which is cool. But I'm going
Is
to
it?
argue that the features they're bringing, kind of so-so.
Not so cool.
And especially when compared to the Arc browser and what they've done. The Arc browser's done some pretty cool stuff with
How
AI.
long before?
true.
How long before Google takes notice of that and just does
Snaps
what
it
Arc's
up.
doing? You know.
Or snaps them up. I bet it's much more likely they snap them, acquire them for lots of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's what Google Chrome's doing. They're doing a number of things according to this article. The first one is they're going to release a new feature called Organize Similar Tabs. So if you're like Jaron and you have a bajillion tabs open, way more than you should,
Me, I have 3 tabs open.
Is this true,
I do.
Jaron?
I usually
No.
have 18 or more.
I just
tabs open.
assume Jaron
Oh.
seems like a tab person. Actually, Owen, you seem like a
I'm a
multiple.
tab. Dude, I'm a tab.
You can never close, right?
Sure.
So
Tab
so there, you can group right now in Chrome. You can actually group them depending on what you're doing. This is a feature that will do it based off of AI automatically for you.
Yeah. There's been extensions that do this, and I have been sorely tempted to do them, but they're work to set up, and so I just
Well, now it won't be.
No,
AI
it'll
does
just
the
be there.
work.
It'll just be there.
Now it's built in.
The next
No,
thing,
because
which
he uses the crappy Brave browser.
Oh, good point.
I just got you an invite
That
for
hurt,
Arc
Jaron.
today, Owen.
You know
Time to
it's
switch.
crappy.
It's awesome. It earns BAT.
And what is that?
BAT. It's cryptocurrency. Boom,
Oh,
I
of
said it.
course it does. Why do we ask the question? We knew it was coming.
It's a security browser that I choose how many ads I get, and based on that number of ads I choose to receive, I earn BAT for looking at them if I want.
I could see that shoehorn from across the room.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Right
Okay,
in there.
so the next feature they're doing is they're allowing you to customize your browser based on generative AI, right? So things like Midjourney and whatever, those kind of generative image creation tools. You can say, I want to have my browser look like this mood or this thing, and AI will create your
that's
custom
neat.
color palette and pictures and blah blah whatever. I personally could not care less about this
Yeah.
feature.
I can't wait till you can say, "Hey Google, set my mood to green today," and have it change everything about your desktop scheme, your lighting.
Oh, that'd be cool. I could get
know?
on board with that.
You could set your whole environment digital and IRL.
I'm feeling poopy today.
Yeah.
And everything goes brown. So the last one that the article talks about here, which is probably, in my opinion, the most interesting one, is what are they calling it here? Write anywhere. Write for me. Anywhere where you can input text in the browser. So input fields, text boxes, anywhere where you can enter text. You can ask Google to help me write blah or write this thing, right? And Google's AI will help you write.
Oh, generative
Generative
text.
AI writing.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Boring.
yeah, like I said, they're all pretty interesting for me.
Like these are kind of the fruits of the AI craze from about 4 months ago, right?
This feels like the developers or the product owners of Chrome all got together and said, anything and everything related to AI, any idea, big or small, we don't care,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 months ago on LinkedIn or Reddit or TechCrunch, it was all AI all the time, using
It still is.
large language models. So this is kind of the coming to fruition of those no idea too small type of.
Yeah, that's what this
thing.
feels like to me. So anyway, it's Chrome doing Chrome things. Arc's still a better browser.
Arc is amazing. I love it on Mac, and I'm
I use it
excited to try it
to
out
cheat
on
in the
Windows.
podcast all the time because you can just press Control F and ask questions about the article, and it'll answer them for you. You could be like, "Hey, what's this thing?" or "How much does this thing cost?" or "Summarize this article for me."
Yeah, they just
Oh,
added.
Gosh, I
They
don't have
just
to read
added.
the article anymore.
Yep.
They just added those AI features like 2 months ago. It's pretty amazing what they're
This in
doing.
my life.
And yeah, they're being much more intentional and being like, when AI first started becoming a thing, they're like, we want to include AI, but we want to do it in a meaningful way.
Yep.
They have to. I mean, they're in such a giant market, like Titan, a market of titans with Chrome and
They got to stand out
Edge
with
and-
quality.
I think
They
I
gotta
think you
do
said
something
I think you mean Titan.
What'd I say?
Mm-hmm.
Just Chrome.
Oh, Right. The one.
Yeah, what else is there?
Brave does not count. Owen.
Edge is pretty good.
Mobile Safari on iPhone because there's no other choice.
I have a coworker who uses Edge on his Linux machine.
What?
I know, right?
Do other Linux users just completely shun him? I mean,
I do.
Hey,
Just a little bit.
Microsoft and Linux, they're
I told him, I was
close
like,
now.
this-
They're
WSL,
friendly.
man.
Yeah, I told him like this feels like an unholy matrimony of doom. Like this is just bound to go wrong.
I will say this about Edge. When they switched to the Chromium engine and overhauled everything,
Yeah.
I like it enough that I use it at work. I use Edge for
Yeah.
all my work stuff.
They have
That's
cluttered
smart.
it so much since then,
That's
though.
not wrong.
And so I just don't use it. I used to use it exclusively, but not anymore.
It's
'cause
pushy
it's
now.
So
It's pushy.
cluttered.
And it's pushy. It tries to get. It's like, oh, hey, your Microsoft account. Hey.
You want to use
Like-
Copilot? You should use Copilot. Please
Yeah.
use Copilot.
Yeah.
You want to use Copilot? Here's how
And
you use
what's
Copilot. Do
annoying
this.
though, if you use non-Google browsers, Google is freaking pushy on
Yeah,
using
also.
Chrome when you visit like Gmail or YouTube.
100%.
It's so annoying.
Yep. All
Anyway,
right.
that's Google AI.
Cool. Well, we'll see how that pans out. All right, Jaron, tell us about poor old J.P. Morgan and their woes.
Did you
This
find a way
was-
to sneak a banking article in here for us?
He
No, this feels more like an Owen article to me. They
like
have
this.
45 billion cyber attacks a day.
did. A day?
A day.
45
Yes.
billion with a
Can
B.
you imagine being on that security
That
team?
and that's pretty much that's it. It was just mind blowing. It says the 45 billion per day figure measures numerous activities, not just hacking attempts.
Well, the other interesting piece of data is it's doubled in a year. This is twice as many as they were getting a year ago.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Examples of
crazy.
activity can include user logins, like employee virtual desktops, scanning activity, which are often highly automated and not targeted. They spend $15 billion on technology every year and employ 62,000 technologists. Many
62,000?
with many focused solely on combating the rise in cybercrime. And so that is, they say we have more engineers than Google or Amazon. Why? Because we have to.
Wow.
That's bonkers.
And you don't hear about this, right?
Well, they don't want you to know about
I
that.
know. It's like, I guess they're doing a good job. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
They don't want you to know how tough there is because for some people that's an invitation. Like, oh, I'll show you how tough you are. I'll break in,
Yeah.
So crazy. All right, and then this is really interesting too, Jaron. Tell us about the vaccine for cancer because we see stories like this come up occasionally ever since the mRNA stuff took off.
Yeah. And reading the article, it sounds like it could actually happen. They are in stage 3 trials
Amazing.
for a potential cancer vaccine. And this type of vaccine is very different than other vaccines. It's tailored to the specific person
And the specific cancer, right?
and to the specific cancer. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's called a tumor lysate particle only vaccine. It uses a person's tumor cells to identify particular parts that are then presented back in the body using the vaccine to tell the body to, hey, attack this. This shouldn't be there. And so the most common side effects were redness or pain at the injection site, fever and fatigue after the injection, similar to other vaccines.
I was gonna say
Big
that's
deal.
a flu vaccine right there.
That is a billion times better than chemo
Yeah.
10
or
billion
surgery.
times better.
Yeah. A billion is bigger than 10
How
million.
effective has
I
it
said
been
10
so
billion?
far?
1 billion, 10 billion, 10
Oh,
billion.
I thought you
bigger
said
than
million.
No, billion, 10 billion. Gosh, dang it. Why do we argue about these little stupid nonsense, Jared?
So
Crazy.
So the most recent data presented showed nearly 95% of people given only the vaccine were still alive 3 years after starting treatment, and 64% were still disease-free. Big numbers there.
Yeah.
And among the most advanced forms of melanoma, disease-free survival after 3 years for people with stage 3 was 60% in the vaccine-only group compared to about 39% in the placebo group. So if you're at stage 3, obviously you want it corrected earlier than later. And
That's
so
a rough. That's a rough study to do.
the effectiveness.
I was gonna say,
seriously.
what if you're part of the placebo group? You
Yeah.
think you're getting
Oh,
cancer treatment?
That's a rough.
and
That's a
you're
rough study
not.
to get into.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that's hard.
I'd do it, though. I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I would not. Are you kidding me? If I had cancer, I would not participate in a clinical trial where I could get placebo, because then you lose any time.
You're no
you could
better
have.
off.
You're worse off because you've
Well,
lost
you've
time
lost
that you
time.
could be treating with
So,
conventional
but
methods.
Listen to this next
This
one.
is
though.
the
Disease-free survival for those with stage 4, which you're pretty much dead no matter what, was about 68% in the vaccine-only group and 0 in the placebo group.
That's
Wow.
huge. That's a
That's massive.
gigantic number in the
that's a-
vaccine world.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
an insane amount of difference.
Yes, and this researcher gave his own father this vaccine 10 years ago.
Oh,
before
wow.
before any of these trials.
Talk about dog
Like that's
fooding.
dude,
Yes.
that's gotta be a great movie one day.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Right. So
100%.
it says Polk's own father, the researcher, was told there was no treatment options left for his lung cancer. That was more than 10 years ago, and
He's
his
like
father
holding-
opted to try Wagner's cancer vaccine and lived 10 more years before dying
That's huge.
from something unrelated to cancer.
So his son was like, "Hold on, hold my beer." This is not
Yeah,
gonna be
that's
the way to
exactly.
go."
That's so cool.
The doctors can't fix it. I'll fix it. I'll fix
Yeah.
it for you, Dad. And
Yeah.
he did.
I got this.
That's
I
a great-
got it.
Wow.
Let's go.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Wait,
that's-
Polk was the president, whereas the researcher was Wagner. So
Okay. But yeah.
Real time correction there.
Polk believed in it enough that he let Wagner use his dad as a guinea pig 10 years ago.
no, Polk believed in Wagner's solution enough that he let Polk's own dad to.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Take
At least that's what I thought I said.
I don't know. Cure for cancer, isn't that freaking cool?
That's freaking amazing. All right, Owen, I saw this article today, and I was going to put it on the notes, and I forgot, so I'm really glad you did. The HP article.
Oh man, these guys can't. They can't get it right. So you guys remember HP Gate a while ago, where all of a sudden people's printers started breaking?
Yep.
And it was random. They're like, oh man. But it was because of those chips. If you buy a refurbished or a refilled toner, they put a new chip on there that is not HP OEM,
Yep.
not the OEM HP chip. And HP found out, hey, we can detect that. And we can send commands to the printer also. And so they made it so that it didn't just say, hey, you've got a non-OEM printer. It shut the printer like down and broke them so they wouldn't print. Well, here they are back again, taking a page out of Apple's book, saying how they know better. They know safety. They know safety better. And they're like, look, it's almost like they're calling themselves out to prove their own point. But they said, we have seen that you can embed viruses in the cartridge, and through the cartridge, the virus can go to the printer,
Oh,
and
my
then from the printer,
goodness.
go to the network. And that frightening scenario could be what could help explain why HP thought that it was hit this month with another lawsuit from Dynamic Security System because it's deploying that still to its printers. But basically, they're the ones that proved that they could do it. And now they're saying, see, it can be done. So you need to allow us so that nobody else does this to force people to use OEM printer cartridges on their system.
That's how you know it's safe.
So it says dynamic security, which is that's their solution. Stop HP printers from functioning if an ink cartridge or toner cartridge, I assume, does not have an HP chip or HP electronic circuitry. And what it does is it issues a firmware. It doesn't just say, hey, I'm not going to print, toner or not there or whatever. It issues a firmwire.
No, they already did that.
Yeah,
It's saying HP issued a firmware update.
Oh, they did. Yeah,
that
HP
caused them to
that
block.
caused this to block printing.
Yeah.
I was reading that wrong. But so there's a lawsuit going on about this already, that because people are like, you just interrupted the free market. You know, like I now have a device that you didn't sell me saying I could only use OEM toners, and now I have to use OEM toners. And so there's a big class action lawsuit going on right now, but they're basically saying, look, it's been proven, we have seen, which is basically like we proved
Yeah.
that you can send malicious code to a printer, therefore across the printer to the network and to systems on the network. And we think that in order to stop this, we shouldn't have to comply to this third-party aftermarket chip lawsuit, because we're just trying to help protect people. We're just trying to make it safer out there.
This is
okay?
for your
no
own
side,
good.
No side-loading toners.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is for your own good.
This is for
So,
your own good. We know better.
Dismiss this lawsuit because it's.
I get it.
We're doing this for
it's
you.
It's not an invalid argument, but if you're worried about that, buy OEM toners, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you have to have that type of
Leave it up
level
to the
of security,
consumer to choose.
Yeah. I mean, they need to be informed, maybe,
Sure.
but so they could send a
But
message.
that still
hey,
feels like a boogeyman argument, like,
true.
watch out.
Yeah, yeah. And all they would have to do, I think, HP to play nice would just be like, hey, look, you're not using an OEM toner. They can say that. They can say, hey, you're not using a genuine toner. That's actually a cool thing, because there's probably a lot of fraud out there.
Sure.
From people saying this is an OEM toner. So there's no problem with HP detecting, hey, this
No,
isn't
letting you
actually
know.
an OEM toner.
And there's
and
gonna
then
be-
sending a link, like an
Yeah.
HTML. Hey, go get educated. A QR code that could easily pop up on your printer's display to learn more. Scan this QR code, and it takes you out and tells you the difference between third party, and let the consumer decide in that way. I know that
there's-
totally scares all the people that have to support their grandparents and older aging parents' IT needs, but and the corporations obviously have the choice. They know, security engineers know, security teams know, hey, put in a policy you were only allowed to install OEM HP stuff, or just don't buy HP printers. I don't know.
Indeed. All right, let's see. We can hit that one next week. All right, Jaron, how interesting is the Rabbit R1?
I want to talk about this one. This is cool. I almost put this on.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, let's do it then. Let's do it. This was announced at CES. Finally getting to the scraps of CES, in my opinion. The Rabbit R1 is like a little AI-powered smartphone. It looks. Do you guys remember the Playdate? That yellow
this looks
little
like the Playdate
Game
without
Boy
a crank.
with the crank.
It's designed by Teenage Engineering.
Yeah,
One
it's
of my
designed by
favorite design companies.
Designed by the same people, but it's a different company. They just hired
It's
Teenage Engineering.
Yeah, they hired Teenage Engineering.
It's an AI-powered gadget that can use your apps for you. What does that mean, you may ask? Well, I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah, what does that
This is like the Humane AI pin. Remember that wearable pin that was like you press the button and it like projects on your
Yes,
hand?
yeah.
This is the same exact kind of idea as that.
Except it has a screen and a tiny little device to display what you ask it. So it has a
my phone?
Yeah, kind of. It has 128 gigs of storage, 2.3 gigahertz MediaTek processor, 4 gigs of memory. So not much memory in there.
Not a very good processor either.
Or is that RAM? I don't know. It doesn't say.
Yeah, but it offloads to the cloud,
it's
Tony.
4 gigs.
Die on your hill, please.
No, this is like streaming to your phone. This is the same thing as
That's
it's
what I
like-
mean.
So
like,
the idea
this
is
just another way to interact with AI.
Yeah,
it runs
that's exactly what it
something
is.
called Rabbit OS, and what you do, you go onto their website, you log into all the services you want it to basically interact with, and you can use this device to have it run commands on those apps. So the example they give, you'll be like, hey, first of all, go to a software called Photoshop, open it, grab your photos here, make a lasso on the watermark, and click, 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 click. This is how you remove watermark. It takes 30 seconds for Rabbit OS to process, Liu says, and they can automatically remove all your watermarks going forward.
It's like a physical Zapier. It's like the linkage between.
Oh, yeah.
like,
That's
you
good.
know, so you could like make some.
Yeah,
zaps, you
yeah,
know?
kind of. And they're not calling it a large language model; they're calling it a large action model. So they're
It
saying
can
that
be more than talk, I guess.
humans have trained it to interact with apps.
Yeah.
So it can like recognize a settings button or stuff like that. And
Or
so
like you just took this stock photo. Would you want us to remove the watermark? And it can see that and automatically take an action using an app that you have installed on your phone and have linked up.
so my question is, if a company redoes their UI, is it going to throw this off?
Are you
Like,
screwed?
Right.
because Google does that pretty
All the
frequently,
time, yeah.
actually. but it's an interesting device. Like even this Verge article, they're not exactly sure how it's going to play out.
I'll say it does physically look neat.
It does.
The design language on it is very interesting.
The teenage engineering design language is one of my favorites. They do
I
some
do
really
love-
cool stuff.
I do love teenage engineering. They make awesome stuff. They make a lot of music stuff.
Yeah, a
use
lot of
cases
music-related stuff.
The use cases they list here are pretty cool too, like ordering a car. You know, if you've got a set grocery list or things you buy every week, you can do that. It logs into the app, does the order for you, makes
Yeah,
the
but
payment.
who buys the exact same things every week?
You'd be surprised. You just end up buying a lot of the same things every
I
week.
buy
Well,
the
yeah, a
same
lot
stuff.
of the same things. Yeah, but
I buy the same stuff every month, I think.
like you eat the same thing every month.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, if I could get on a weekly rotation for dinners, I would. If my wife wasn't against it, I would do it so fast. Like
Or
every
just
Monday is this, every
automated.
Tuesday is
Yep.
tacos, every Wednesday is
Okay,
this.
all right.
Over and over again, forever. Just
stand
automate
corrected.
that, and I could stop thinking about
Even
dinner and
if-
what to feed my face every day of the week.
Even if you could,
I
even if you
hate
could
it.
set that to a -1 slider, right?
And this
So it
is the
just
person we
rotates.
trust about cooking steak in a sous vide.
we found
Someone who hates food.
we found
I don't
someone
hate food. I hate coming up with ideas for dinner every dang day.
we
Oh,
found
boy.
one of Lando's triggers.
I love
better-
cooking. I just hate planning out the meals for
Yeah,
next
we better-
week because we
we
can't
better wrap
repeat
this up.
meals every week for
We
some
better,
damn
we
reason.
better wrap this
gonna
up. He's got to
explode.
go. Yeah, we better wrap it up. He's got to go get that. He's got to go plan for next week's meals.
Yeah.
And don't
Got a
wanna
lot of
take
work
his
to do.
The
precious
time I spend thinking about what to feed my face every day is insane. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Well, we'll follow this and see if it goes anywhere. It is
Yeah.
interesting at the least.
They're already sold out of their first run of 10,000 units. It's $200.
The price is okay.
Yeah, the price
Isn't
is not
terrible.
bad.
Yeah, it's not
For a
bad.
teenage engineering product, the price is really good because
I still have no idea how this would work in practice. It's basically an app for your apps, and like, do people actually need this? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, I have two quick CES scraps to go over. We've talked about this device in the past, and it is pushing forward and becoming better, and we'll hopefully see consumer-level usage pretty soon. It's a solid-state active cooler from Furore. We've talked about this before. It's basically it's a cooling fan without a fan, and you can slap it on something like a
Battery without a battery, a fan without a fan.
I know that's what I'm about this
Sensing
episode.
a trend.
It's got a trend here. So it's its own heatsink and air movement device. You can slap it on it'd be really good in laptops. You can put it directly on the chips, on the different chips.
What
to
is it
cool
used to make mechanical cooling?
We've talked about that in the past. I'm trying to remember what it is, but it doesn't have any moving parts. Is the thing. It does something that moves air.
Oh yeah, we have talked about this in the
talked
past.
about this, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is their new version, the
this
AirJet
is
Mini Slim.
Slim.
And basically it is going to be really good for very small, slim devices, as well as
Oh man, this is gonna be great in phones.
yeah, for
Other
phones and
small
things like that.
gaming handhelds. Stuff
Exactly. And if they can build it up or whatever, scale it up, it could be useful on anything. It'd be really good for solid state drive cooling, and because that's a big issue with the PCI Express 5 solid state drives. But yeah, they're just making smaller and better versions of this device, and they showed off the latest one at CES this year. This was really cool. It has a self-cleaning mechanism.
Right.
So you can have it just hit reverse, and it will expel air out the other end and blow all the dust away that's inside of it.
That's cool.
So
To piggyback off of that, new heating technology that is probably 10, 20 years away. It's called thermal transistors.
Ooh.
And I've been sitting on the story for a while, but it relates to what you just said. So transistors, that is what has brought us into the information age. They've been around since the 50s, I think, right?
Well, transistors have been around, a long time, maybe longer than that.
Yeah.
I'll look while you talk.
So transistors basically manage the flow of electricity, right? So and it can be two. It can be a 1 or a 0, so 2 states. And that is basically how. Oh, in 1947 is when electrical transistors were invented.
Binary, right?
Yeah, binary. They act like
language.
switches, 2 terminals through which electricity flows, plus a third terminal that controls the flow. And our chips now have billions of transistors on
that's
them.
all it is. Just billions of transistors in there.
Yep.
On off, on off.
And so to piggyback off of that dream, we now have thermal transistors. And the idea of thermal transistors is just as well as normal transistors can control the flow of electricity, thermal transistors can control the flow of heat.
That's cool.
Which is kind of crazy. The way they describe it, which makes no sense to me, their technique takes advantage of the bonds that form between atoms in a nanoscale channel of the new transistor. These bonded atoms are held together by sharing their electrons, and the way these electrons are distributed between them affects the strength of the bonds. This, in turn, influences how much heat can pass through the atoms. So they're able to control the heat on a chip just as well as the electricity is controlled on the chip.
Oh, crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah, so obviously this has a lot.
Just like any other thing with processing speed, that allows you to tune the temperature to anything you want, right?
Yep.
By adding more transistors, you just say, I never want my chip to go over 6 degrees Celsius, right? Like, turn it down. That's
so
cool.
What the heck?
heat management, heat processing, and they're saying new computing paradigms will result as from these thermal transistors.
Wonder how they performance. There's always the law of thermodynamics, right? Like, what's the performance trade-off?
Yeah, and there's
controlling the temperature that way.
A spot right here that says it includes preventing overheating, which we would assume.
Oh,
but
yeah, it
also,
could be like an insta-stop. Yeah.
Also recapturing the heat and reusing it for other energy purposes.
Yeah, so imagine a GPU or CPU that if it didn't have a fan on it would get well past the boiling point.
Oh, yeah.
Capturing that energy, it'd make
a coffee warmer on the top of your PC.
Well,
no, it'd make the devices so much more efficient.
Exactly, because all the power you lose that's converted into heat could be put back into the computational aspect of the chip running. That's crazy.
So incredibly precise control of heat from thermal transistors.
Yeah.
Awesome, right?
Very awesome.
Neat.
All right, and last but not least, you've had an article sitting here for a while, Owen, and we probably should have talked about it before because it has to do with TikTok and your rights.
It is old. TikTok, this is a quick one. So TikTok updated their terms quietly, mind you.
Of course.
Well, yeah.
Because what you're doing is now in the terms, you're waiving your rights to sue over anything that they've done in the past.
Any
past
bummer.
harms, anything like so.
that
Basically,
legal?
they're starting to what they see in the
China it
future.
is.
What they see in the future, is that child data has been sold because TikTok was the Wild West for the first.
Oh, yeah.
For in its beginnings. Anything and everything was on there. They didn't have enough people monitoring it. There was no moderation. It was direct to end user, so it was like creator to person, like instantly, right? And it still is for the most part, but now they've got filters in place, and didn't matter what they were talking about, didn't matter who was posting, minors, who cares? Like if they had an account, doesn't matter how, you could get on there and create content, and they see on at least to me, this signals that they see on the horizon that there could be some pretty heavy lawsuits coming in. And so basically, if you didn't quit TikTok before now and you just signed it and you have any type of lawsuit pending or any type of class action that comes up, if you're still using their app, you forfeited the right to sue them over anything that has happened post or pre that date of when they changed their waiver.
Why didn't lawyers think of this in the past?
I know.
Let's just add something to the product that you can't sue us anymore.
Clause
Easy.
in there, yeah.
Right. Well, it's because they're
That was
still
easy.
they're technically still giving you a consumer choice. You can choose to never use their app again.
I did that.
And you can choose to never use their app again, and then fine, yeah, you can sue the pants off them for whatever damages. But but they know how. I mean, TikTok is a dopamine reservoir. I mean, it's instant
Hit
dopamine.
after hit
just
after hit.
like it is just.
That's
you
one of the
swipe,
reasons I deleted it.
It's so bad for me. Like I had to create screen time control thing
For yourself.
where I'm just like,
believe it.
hey, and even they do. They know this about themselves too. And I can't tell you how many times I dismiss the, hey, have you been scrolling instead of sleeping? It's literally from TikTok. They have those built in, and there's different versions of it. And I'm just like, don't tell me how to live my life. And I just keep going, Anyway, so yeah, if you use the app, you forfeited your rights to sue over some sort of.
Do you
past
listen
harm.
to yourself though? Like,
No, I don't.
do you tell yourself, "Don't tell me how to live my life, Owen"?
Oh, I
No.
thought Jaron was asking, do you hear yourself?
Oh no.
No.
Do you hear yourself right now?
It's them. Oh, but when my screen time's coming up, do you mean? Do I? Be
Yeah,
like, don't-
yeah.
Oh, no, I stop then. I do
Really?
stop then,
Oh, good job.
or I turn them off.
Or it reminds me of back when the Wii first came out. You remember all of a sudden people were seeing these warnings after you've played for like an hour. It says, "Hey, you've been playing for a while. Maybe it's time to take a break."
Yeah,
It's
go
like,
get a drink,
nice.
touch
What?
grass.
go touch grass.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just what an interesting way. Knowing the addictive properties of your app, knowing how widely used it is, and they probably have that data because they're like, oh, user so-and-so is putting in a request and suing you. They have your information. So they know that if any lawsuit comes up, they just go look at the database. They say, okay, John Jones is actually user this. And they go, wait a second. Even though he's suing us, he's still using the app. Well, let's just put that into our terms of service. And the lawsuit
No one
goes
reads that
away.
crap.
Yeah. Put
Yep.
into EULA. We learned that. Then nobody reads the EULA. So
That was one of the best episodes of Black Mirror this last season. The one with Annie, what's her name? Annie Murphy. And go watch that if you haven't seen it. I think it's like,
Oh, I've heard about that episode.
it's super good because it's all about like the terms and conditions of applications.
right.
And or at least one specific application that they're talking about on it. I think it was Netflix was the application. Anyway,
I wonder when that's going to come to a head and somebody's going to be like, you can't make people agree to that. But they are. They're clicking through. They had the chance to read it. They just didn't. It seems like a crossroads deal, right? Like with the devil. Like he just didn't read the contract. I gave them what they wanted. The people give the people what they want.
yeah, well that's
I
all
just-
over in Baldur's Gate 3 too.
Yeah.
With Missoura.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway,
man.
interesting, very interesting method to kind of mitigate their risk of their early days, I guess.
Yep. Indeed. All right. Well, that is it for today. Thank you for making it to the end of the show with us. Thanks for downloading. Before we sign off, big shout out to our awesome Patreon backers. Patreon.com/HelpDeskArcade. And we appreciate any donations there that help keep the podcast on the air and provide a few shekels for us to review some things now and then. If you donate $6 a month or more, not only do you get access to the ridiculous in-between section of
It's so good.
of our show,
It's
you also
worth
get
every penny.
You also get a shout out on the air, which Jaron has for us right now.
Big shout out and thank you to David Broshinsky, Connor Keesaw, and Wiffleball Tony. Chalet Holmes, thank you. Dr. Eggman, Andy Bird, be the 8-year-old.
Dr. Eggman.
Travis Johnson by Geekshow Arcade Helpdesk stickers at Pieman Graphics on Etsy. All proceeds go to Lee George Cade's medical bills. Landon FTW. No name, no color. Keslow, Eric Steinman, Eric Cruz. ONS Tech Cred +1.
Oh, +1.
Matt Nelson, Harry Patch, Josh D, Adam, Aaron Faulkner, Stuart Lloyd. I don't drive faster than I can see. Ryan M and Adam Hecht. Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Patreon backers. It's Robotnik. It's not Dr. Eggman. Don't listen to Sega's freaking ridiculousness. It's still Dr. Robotnik. Okay? Anyway, rant over. Owen, it's not your turn.
Nope.
I'm so used to that being Owen's turn. All right, Lando. That's it for this episode. Take us out.
When your computer asks you to press the any key to continue, don't bother looking for that key. Just call your favorite tech friend. Be an end user.